How about a golden drive? This is RamView.
Out there, let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Rosian, and this is RamView, the December 4th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Bench the app. Don't take a goose egg. Don't get a zero on your fantasy team because you left a non-starting player on your fantasy roster. Download Bench the app today and make that a thing of the past. So, a lot of stuff going on. Rams, Bills coming up, stuff happening in the NFL. And you've got all kinds of different things. And, a golden at bat rule, right? And I thought, boy, that's pretty stupid. And I thought, but maybe the NFL can countermatch it with a golden drive. And then you've got everyone in that Houston front office, from D'Amico Ryans to their GM defending their Shahir, their linebacker, for the hit. I don't care when he slid. He was sliding, and you see the linebacker go with his forearm up. Even Colin Cowherd. I had to watch Colin Cowherd today. I was stuck someplace. Even he was defending the hit. No, and Tom Brady's wrong. I mean, if you want to get rid of the slide rule, I'm good. I'm down with all of that stuff. I'm more than down with all that. But let's just call it. The guy had a perfect chance to pull up, pull out, and not lay the hit on Trevor Lawrence. But unbelievable. So it was just one of those days where you heard stupid stuff. It wasn't a bad hit, golden at bat rule. They want to put that in. And then I heard Colin Cowherd, because I was stuck and I had to listen to the show, watch the show. Colin Cowherd said that only Walter Payton and Barry Sanders are better on the all-time list than Christian McCaffrey. Did you hear that? That there's Christian McCaffrey, and then there's Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. I totally respect Colin Cowherd. He's the best that does this. Absolutely. Doesn't mean I have to agree with him. And I thought, is he just trying to do this to get hits? Because that's just utterly ridiculous. Christian McCaffrey can't touch Marshall Faulk's jockstrap. McCaffrey's had an 8-year career, pieced together about 4 really great seasons. Marshall Faulk did it for a decade. I don't care if McCaffrey gets in the Hall of Fame, but Marshall Faulk, when you go back and you look at Marshall Faulk in terms of his completeness, to me, I just can't hand it over to Eric Dickerson as the greatest Ram running back of all time, right? I think Eric Dickerson is fantastic. But in terms of all-around game, Marshall Faulk's better than Todd Gurley. He's better than Steven Jackson. Marshall Faulk is amongst the greatest of all time. Christian McCaffrey, third best running back of all time? Better than Eric Dickerson? Better than O.J. Simpson? Better than Jim Brown? Help me. Help me. And as we said last year, you're not going to get 3 healthy years out of Christian McCaffrey. 49ers didn't. 49ers are now 5-7. Anyway, had to get that off my chest. People have been coming at me today. All right, I admit this is ridiculous on my part, because as of today, I can't see a path of victory for the Rams against the Bills. Can't do it. I felt the same way about Philly, but I got talked out of it by the great Tim Burns and even our own sponsor, Paul Kistler. They talked me out of it. And I went with Phil at Rams for Philly, and of course, we know how that turned out. And I hardly ever go back or change. I'm a pretty stubborn individual, very spiteful, especially when it comes to sports. So right now, I just can't see the Rams beating the Bills, right? So am I wrong to say, let's just run Jimmy G and a bunch of backups out there, let them take the beating, so the Rams starters are fresh the final 4 games of the season? I know it sounds ridiculous, but does it sound that ridiculous? Rams got a hard road to hoe if the Cardinals don't beat the Seahawks this week. Okay, I heard another conversation popped my way, just drifted my way this week, that the Rams don't need another wide receiver. And we've hit on this often. Nakua is great, but his style means he's not going to be a long-term guy. I'm curious to see what he's going to look like in his 4th year. He just plays so physical. And, I don't know if he's Hines Ward, right? I don't know if he can keep going as long as a guy like Hines Ward went. Love Nakua, but he's something that's like a meteor that's going to go across the sky and doesn't feel like he's going to last a long time. Kupp is in his 30s, and it looks like he's in his 30s. Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson are on one-year deals, and Atwell's a free agent. So that really leaves Jordan Whittington, a 6th-round pick, Xavier Smith, an undrafted free agent. That's it. Rams need to draft a receiver in this coming draft, probably somewhere in the first 3 rounds. That's what I would say. Also, feel like I'm comfortable saying this. I think a lot of you have maybe come to that point yourself, but I'll admit it. I've always been back and forth on Bobby Brown, even though he's been playing well, been wanting more out of him. I've reached a point now where I do want the Rams to re-sign Bobby Brown. You just can't get those bubbas in the middle. And he's playing hard as he knows. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like or how much him and his agent are going to want. I guess you got to play it cool. But there's going to be a market for Bobby Brown out there, and maybe more than the Rams want to pay. I'd love to have him back. Do we have to wait for, was it Tank Davis to get to that next level? I don't know. He's not where Bobby Brown is right now. So I hope we can keep Bobby Brown, but I get a feeling we're going to lose him. Yeah, we'll get a comp pick if we lose him. Hope we can keep him. If we can keep him, then we can wait until the 2nd or 3rd day to draft another down lineman for the trenches. If we lose him, then it's got to be, first or use one of those 2 3rd-round picks that we have. Maybe get the dude from Michigan. Was it Mason Graham? He would be kind of nice. I will say this. Locked on Rams made a point that I wanted to make today about Emmanuel Forbes. Good for them. They beat me to it. I think it was Doug McCain. And so congrats, South Pass guy. And he made the point I wanted to make. And it was basically, if the Rams can salvage Emmanuel Forbes' career, he's a 1st-round athlete, right? And if they can straighten out his game, then they don't have to send a premium pick or spend a premium pick in 2025 for a corner. If they don't, then they need to spend a pick for a corner next year. But if Emmanuel Forbes can do it, right? If they can do it, then that frees them up, and then they can focus on what they're going to do if they can't keep Brown, right? Also, we know they need an offensive lineman, but no, I'm really, I think it's a good swing for the Rams. I think it's a real good swing. Wish I had said it first, but I got beat. But I wholeheartedly agree. The signing of Emmanuel Forbes led to the Charles Woods being released, waived, and the Rams brought him back, put him on the practice squad. Charles Woods, pretty good guy, considering he's an undrafted free agent, right? And he made the active roster. Now, he didn't get any real snaps on defense, special teams guy, but happy to be able to keep him around. Good move, though. You bring in a guy that's got the 1st-round talent. Can you develop him? And you still keep Charles Woods in the system, see if he can develop. Hey, remember what Darius Williams was, right? Remember what Darius Williams was when the Rams got a hold of him. The Rams also signed 2 down linemen, Jack Heflin. He's an interior defender, DT, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's only appeared in a handful of games. And then Kevin Strong, who is listed as a nose tackle at 6'4", 295. I love the height. They signed him to the practice squad. Strong was a starter almost all last season for the Cardinals and got released for weird reasons. No one really knows. And so he's been out, and the Rams signed him and Heflin to their practice squad. Both those guys were UDFAs. All right. Offensive line. Right now, unless you guys have heard something I haven't, Alaric Jackson, Steve Avila, Bo Limmer, Kevin Dotson, Rob Havenstein. Have not heard anything to flip the script on that. So if you have, let me know. Hey, I'll take some questions right now. I'll look at that before I go to around the NFL and other places. Tim Burns, Forbes has good film, but this season, his bad 6 missed tackles and 7 receptions on 7 passes defense. Thoughts? Well, as a guy that misses tackles, he'll fit right in with the Rams defense, right? Rams, fortunately, they use their speed to recover. They swarm a little bit, but Rams miss a lot of tackles. Yeah, he looked bad. He looked bad last year. And part of that breakdown is they were asking him to do things that he didn't have to do at Mississippi State. And if the Rams had eyes on him, which they weren't going to get him in 2023, obviously, because of where they were drafting. But if they had eyes on him and they think they can do something with him, and I'm going to hold out too that he's probably a pretty good character dude. Cam Curl wanted him to reunite with him, and if he's a good character dude, so he might be a Ram, right? He just might be a Ram that needed to come to the Rams, right? So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I'm glad we didn't lose Charles Woods and Tim Burns. Rams have missed 96 tackles this year. How do we improve that? It's just got to be an emphasis in the off season. It's got to be emphasis during the summer. A lot of young guys, right? I'd be curious to know, because we know the tackling's been bad. I'd be curious to know what it looks like in the last 6 games versus the previous 6 games, right? When the Rams were 2-4, maybe the first 5 games, because we have seen an improvement in the defense. We have. And not that it was horrible, it was getting where it needed to be, but it's young. And when you're young, you're stupid, and you're young and you're overzealous. It's a mindset. These guys didn't get to the NFL because they can't tackle. It's a mindset. And I think it's part of the adjustment to the NFL. We've seen Verse and Byron Young both adjust as the season went on after all the whiffs on the sacks they would have had. So that's my thoughts on that, Mr. Burns. Bill, do you think Higbee plays this Sunday? I don't know. I don't think so. I shared again that thought I had last on Monday that, between Hunter Long, Colby Parkinson, and Davis Allen, the Rams have 37 catches going to the tight end spot. The last 3 weeks, they've got 3 catches. They all belong to Parkinson. Now, again, I took heat. Well, McVay never schemes for the tight end and all that kind of stuff. It's like, of course we know that. We know what McVay does. But you got to throw to the tight end sometimes. And basically, now maybe these are Stafford's choices. As Nakua and Kupp have gotten back into the rhythm of the offense, and you got Robinson out there. Maybe, just maybe, these are Stafford's choices. But it's interesting. The tight ends have completely disappeared. If we're not going to throw the ball to the tight end, let's find out what Jonah Jackson has, or Joe Noteboom, and bring out that 6th offensive lineman and just pound him, right? Just pound him. Okay, Tim Burns, I'm thinking sit Stafford. Okay, yeah, I agree. I looked it up on PFF to see how they graded. I think they said the Rams pass rush is at 9 and the Bills pass rush is at 6. And so it's going to be really hard, right? It's going to be really hard. I think the hard part about you have to play to win. I get it. If I thought the Seahawks were going to lose on Sunday, I'd say, yeah, for sure. That would be great. But the Seahawks, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets completely did the Rams over, right? So if the Seahawks win and the Rams lose, the Cardinals and the Rams are going to be 6-7, and we're going to be 2 games back of the Seahawks. And if the Seahawks get to 11 wins, I'm going to break this down here in a minute. If the Seahawks get to 11 wins, Rams are toast, because we've already figured into the math, baked into the cake, that the Rams aren't going to beat the Bills, right? So we see the Rams at best finishing 10-7, there's a possibility the Seahawks could finish 11-6, right? There is that possibility. So something to think about going forward, right? And that 11-6 would include a second loss to the Rams, right? So let's see. Steve Ramirez came in late. Thanks for joining, Steve. Tim Burns, Fisk is top 10 in his position. Nice to see recognition for the guy. I think it's great. I think it's great for him. I don't care as a fan. I used to care. I just don't care anymore, right? I think as we get older, it's like, man, I just want to see wins and I just want to go to the playoffs, right? So, but no, good for him. Let's see. Tim Burns, how do the Ravens keep Deontay Johnson? In my day, refusing to play was a team meeting to kick him off. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the Deontay Johnson thing. Did not know about that. Tim, let's see, Steve Ramirez. I'm willing to give Forbes a chance. It might work in our system. That's the thought. That's what I heard. That's the thought. And yeah, I think it's a good swing. I think it's a real good swing. Bill, Rams should try Jonah Jackson as a tight end. Could you imagine those 6 run blocking? Yeah, right? I mean, do something, right? I don't know, Bill, was it you or somebody brought it up? Hey, put him in at fullback. Let him just plow the road. Get him. He needs action. I refuse to believe he's a total bust, right? Because when we've seen him play this year, he doesn't look like an NFL player. He looks like Bobby Evans, right? So let's get him back ingrained. He didn't play in August, had no reps. And then again, he got hurt right at the start of the year. So let's find out, right? Let's get something for our 18 rocks, right? Let's get something. I think it's 13 rocks this year. I think it's 18 rocks next year. Let's get something for that. And let's put him out there, let him smash into somebody. And especially when you heard McVay talking about, hey, maybe Fisk can play some offense. Maybe we can put him at fullback. Weren't we all saying this last year? It's like, hey, how about giving the ball to AD? Just as like, that's what they should do to entice him back. Say, AD, why don't you come back and we'll give you 5 touches a game on offense, to see if he wants to, to revive his passion for the game, that he could actually run the ball a little bit. I'm all for that. Mike Ditka changed the world with Refrigerator Perry. All right. Willie Bowen, I'm praying for the LA Rams to win. I want them to win too. Let's see here. Steve Ramirez, I can't see the Seahawks beating either the Vikings or Packers. I agree with you. I don't want it to happen. Both those games are at Lumen Field. And I know weather should not affect the Packers and, by and large, but do you want to run that risk? Because they also have the Rams down the stretch. We know that one. They got the Bears as well. We just don't want them to get to 11 games. And so I'm nervous about that. Manny Vasquez, any given Sunday. Is that your belief about this Sunday, 125 at SoFi? I hope you're right, and you guys could all come back at me, because right now, when we get to Friday's show and I give my prediction, I don't see it changing. Maybe I'm bitter because I drank the Kool-Aid with my friends and took the Rams over Philly a couple weeks ago. But right now, that looks like a 34-13 game to me, right? It just does. It's the Bills' time. Let's see. Willie Bowen, I'm glad Tyler Higbee may play in the game. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Higbee coming back. It would be a good thing. But, it's like the people honking for Blake Corum. Okay, I'm glad Blake Corum's getting snaps. It's not going to change the world right now. It's going to contribute a little bit here and there, but it's not going to change anything unless, is Higbee really, doesn't Higbee also have to get in football shape? There's running shape, there's rehab, but man, taking those hits, I think, if he goes out there, plays 5 snaps, 10 snaps, and then you can build it going forward, cool. You use him against the Jets, use him against the Niners. Tim Burns, when is Kistler co-hosting? One of the things that used to happen to me at Mid-Valley Sports is, not with all the guys, but with some of the guys, is that I was kind of rude to the guys I was on air with sometimes. I would be, because not all the guys, most of my guys that I worked with, Peterson, Barker, all those guys, they were cool. They did their job. But sometimes some guy would be sitting next to me and he didn't do his homework, right? Or the light went on, it was time to go, it was his turn to talk, and they freeze up. And it's like, that really ticks me off, man. You better speak. And how bad would it be to take the number one sponsor and co-host with him and then say, yo, bro, get it together. Did you do your homework? That's financially risky for me. That's financially risky. Maybe I can create a Kistler corner and give him 30 seconds on the show each week. That would be better. Safer for me. Manuel Vasquez, Rams will upset the Bills, put it at 27-23. Ooh, I hope you're right. Right? I want you to be right. I need you to be right. Okay, here we go. Around the NFL and other places, guys, keep firing the questions. It's fun hanging with you. I was rooting for Jameis Winston on Monday night. I was. I picked the Bills. I picked the Broncos in those hideous uniforms. What's the problem with them in Denver? What's the problem with these NFL teams? If you want to do a different uniform, just go back to the Orange Crush with the big D on the helmet, right? But what are you doing the white helmet and the blue? And help me, right? It looks stupid, right? Maybe that's why the game was so close. You like that stuff? I don't like that stuff. So I was kind of rooting. Jameis Winston had 460 yards, and then all of a sudden he throws that bomb and they get pass interference at the end, and it's at the 2-yard line, and he's got 497 yards. And I'm thinking if he didn't throw the first pick six, he might have already gotten over a 500 yards because he was racking up the yards, right? And so I kind of wanted to see that. It was an entertaining game. Give credit to the Browns. Stefanski, I think I said a few months ago that Stefanski should just do everything he can to get out of Cleveland. But, that team still keeps playing hard, right? They're better than their ownership, right, who foolishly gave that contract. But, I'm wondering if there's going to be some issue next year if what's his name? If Stefanski says, I want to roll Jameis because he fits the budget and he's talented. I know he's only on a 1-year deal, and you're just not going to play. You're going to have to eat that dough to ownership for what they gave to Deshaun Watson. And they don't only have this year, next year, but I think they got the year after that as well, 2026. So welcome to my nightmare, as Alice Cooper sang. Regarding the Broncos, Bo Nix, man. I didn't like a couple of passes he threw, but you get why Denver likes Bo, right? And it'll be interesting to see how he plays as the pressure in the games mounts up. But again, everyone's making a big deal out of it now, and there's a lot of truth to it. He started 61 games in college. I think Anthony Richardson started 14. Anthony Richardson's got more talent, stronger arm, all that stuff. But look who's producing, right? Bills have re-signed safety Micah Hyde 7 years. And his contract played out last year. They didn't bring him back this year, but they just signed him to the practice squad. That's kind of a wise move. Right now, they got Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp. And who's the other cat that's there? Cole Bishop. And so this is a good move by the Bills just to get some security back there. Broncos waived former Ram wide receiver Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds, the guy that cost cost Detroit that win in Frisco last year that would have put Detroit in the Super Bowl. Just anyway, Reynolds was claimed by the Jaguars. Okay, so before we move on here, I'm not into this golden at-bat proposal, right? And again, I'm sitting there and cowards all salivating over it. And it's like, I think it's a joke, right? Here's the honest facts about baseball. Just like soccer will never take over America and hockey will never take over America, and NBA actually needs to figure something out because I think it's going to fall behind hockey and soccer because they just can't get their act together. No one's watching. It's just bad basketball. Baseball's still good. People still like watching baseball, but baseball's never going to reclaim the top spot ever again. It's just not while the NFL is around. The culture has changed. The world has changed. Now, again, there are people who love baseball. There are kids growing up who love baseball, but I can't understand why the MLB keeps insulting their fan base. And this is an absolute affront to the fan base. That golden at bat rule eliminates everything that occurred leading to that point in the game. It's like, well, we just want to erase it and let's just stick in another guy, right? I mean, I heard somebody talking about someone could deliberately walk Shohei Ohtani, load the bases, and then regardless that Shohei Ohtani's on first base, you could say, oh, we want to invoke our golden bat rule, and then we're going to bring him back to home plate to bat again. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Baseball's got problems. Baseball's got really problems. They got to get the nerds out of the room because they're killing the game, right? Someone's got to figure out the next innovation is going to be some team's going to figure out you can develop starting pitching that can go 7, 8, and even 9 innings, and your bullpen's not going to be burned out, and they're going to run off a couple of titles, and then everyone's going to go drift back that way. But no one's going to watch it if you start doing stupid stuff like the golden at bat rule. It's just stupid, so it got me thinking, if you're thinking of that kind of stupidity, how about a golden drive in football? You need points, and then all of a sudden you can invoke I'm going to invoke my golden drive in football, and so your team needs points, and so the NFL is required now. You got to get the ball. You get the ball at your opponent's 40, and instead of 4 downs to get 10 yards, you get 5 downs. And everything that came before it doesn't matter. Everything the team is doing that went ahead of you or taking the lead, whatever they've done doesn't matter, but you've got your golden drive rule. See, again, that's just how dumb this business sounds. It just sounds dumb. And again, it's the pandering down. It's the disrespect for your fan base. And yeah, you're not demanding anything better in baseball, right? You're not demanding anything of your pitchers. You're not demanding anything, and in some ways they've got to regain control. So when you sign an Anthony Rendon contract, you should have a golden transaction rule that when you got an Anthony Rendon, you should be able to say, hey, we're putting this guy in the street and he's not getting any of his guaranteed money. How about we invoke that rule? You want to encourage fans? Get a golden at bat. Now I get a golden transaction, right? I get to cut somebody and not have to pay them any of their guaranteed dough. See how easy it is? I can come up with a golden at bat, everything. Golden this, golden that, right? How about if I'm preaching a bad sermon on Sunday, can I come up with a golden sermon rule, right? Can I just go back and preach a sermon I preached before that was better received? Can I go back to a golden previous show rule where I suck tonight, but I did a really good show 2 weeks ago? Can I play that again and not take any punishment for that? It's just dumb. It's just really, really dumb. Yeah. Okay. I ranted. My rant is over. TC88. TC88, is that Temple City 88? Do you think John Johnson should start over Cameron Curl? Well, right now, they've got a little groove going there, right, in the secondary between Lake, Curl. Kitchens is much better since he got benched. And then they sprinkle in Jalen McCullough. There's that dilemma the Rams are in that we've talked about for a couple of weeks. I think there was another article on it today somewhere. I saw a link that there's the dilemma. The Rams can only bring back one player now from the injured reserve, and it's down to Troy Reeder or John Johnson. And they're waiting. The way the article read was they're waiting to see, who they're going to need. Is there going to be an injury at linebacker? Then it's going to be Reeder. If there's an injury in the secondary, it's going to be Johnson. They're allowed to bring back an extra person in the postseason. So if they get there, they get both those guys back. My feeling would be I'd want to activate Johnson. That would be my feeling because of the youth of the secondary. And then he's a guy that you're not going to lose too much if he has to come in. I think we've seen the last of Troy Reeder in terms of significant playing time. Spates has allowed Roseboom to do other things, and Roseboom shined this last month, and so is Spates with those legs. And the second he gets a grasp of coverage, I think the Rams are going to have a winner. I think I shared on Monday that if he had enough snaps to qualify, Spates would be in the top 10 of off-ball linebackers right now. So I like John Johnson, but that's what the Rams are waiting for. I hope the guy they do activate is John Johnson. I'm kind of wondering that, instead of instead of Troy Reeder, was Jake Hummel that much different than Troy Reeder, right? And Jake Hummel's better in coverage. Anyway, thought we'd throw up. Tim Burns, I nailed Winston. I told Steeler fan Rob he would get 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 INTs, and even said he would throw 2 pick sixes. With that mojo, Rams 30, Bills 23. Whoa, Tim Burns, you're on fire. There you go. Absolutely. Tim Burns, commissioners who never went to college in sports shouldn't run a league, in my opinion. Okay. I think someone who doesn't love the game or hears too many other voices, a double-minded man. Might be getting biblical there. Steeler fan Rob. Rams will be lucky to go 8-9. Okay. And the Steelers will be lucky to get out of the first round. There. I said it. Okay. I said it. See how easy that is? It's called the golden cheap shot rule, Mr. Steeler fan Rob. I can take all the cheap shots I want. In fact, my team's been to 2 Super Bowls since your team's been to 1. When was the last time you won a playoff game? See how easy it is? It's called the golden stick it to you rule. Steve Ramirez, the golden at bat rule is fundamental rule change that is a joke. Okay, Steve and I agree. It would be like having an NFL golden down rule where you get a 5th down once. Oh, so we're dancing the same music there, Steve. Thank you. Steve and I agree on a lot of things we don't agree on, but we agree on that one. There we go, fellow sports writer. Manuel Vasquez, baseball has already ruined the game enough. That golden at bat proposal is just ridiculous, just like the automatic runner in extra innings. They need to get rid of it. I'm down. I don't mind the pitch clock. I don't mind that because, we all had to suffer through Pedro Baez, but I don't like that runner on. Again, I hate it when I hear people whine about, I got to go to work next day and all that kind of stuff. Well, don't go to the game, right? To me, if I went to a game, I'm there. I'm staying, I got one bad experience, and I don't want to out the person who gave me that bad experience because they're watching us right now. Let's see here. USA Expat. How many carries would you like to see Blake Corum get this Sunday? 8 carries, 2 catches, 10 touches. There we go. As need be, right? As need be. I didn't think much of him getting the first carries of the game against New Orleans. I think it's all about rotation. Rams came out and threw 3 times against the Saints. And so I really don't care. There's been a series in every game for the last month or so where he comes in for a series. And so I got no problem. I like Blake Corum. I just, articles about, the Rams have done him a disservice and all that, yada, yada, yada. Come on, it's low-hanging fruit. Blake Corum's really good. Is he better than Kyren right now? No, not at all. If Kyren holds on to the ball, no. Corum's not in his league. He's getting there. He's going to be a great complement next year. Rams going to have a 1-2 punch. It's going to be good. Tim Burns, baseball was ruined when they put the runners on second in extra innings. Takes manager strategy out of the bullpen usage. Great. Can we get rid of the DH in the National League? Can we just get rid of the DH in the National League, please? Tim Burns, Corum started to kick Kyren awake. Well, 2 fumbles in a game like Kyren had, that's going to open the door. And I'm sure Kyren had a serious discussion with his boss right there, right? I'm sure he did. Okay, let's look at the NFC playoffs. Division leaders: Lions 11-1, Eagles 10-2, Seahawks 7-5, Falcons 6-6. A lot of talk about benching Kirk Cousins. I think it would be a mistake right now because you're going to bring in. Would you really bring in Michael Penix against the Vikings this week? I don't think so. Why don't you get blown out by the Vikings and then you could bring in Penix against the Raiders and Giants? Makes better sense, right? Then you've got wild card teams right now. Vikings are 10-2. They get the Falcons. They got the Bears, Seahawks, Packers, Lions. So they don't, outside of the Bears, they don't have a chump schedule here. Packers, I think the Packers are going to beat the Lions tomorrow night. I do. I'm not ready to give a score. Maybe I'll think of one before the game is over. But I think the Lions just have so many people injured. They've played so well that at some point they're cruising for a bruising and they're going to get stung. And I think the Packers, they don't know what they don't know. And I think the Packers are there to upset them. In the long run, if they have to play in the playoffs, I'm not saying that. But I think tomorrow night, yeah, I think they do. And then you got the Texans 8-5 in the last wild card spot. And here's the problem for the Rams. In front of the Rams right now, besides the Texans in the 7th spot, you have Tampa 6-6 in the 8th spot, Cardinals 6-6 in the 7th, and the Rams 6-6 in the 9th. There you go. Or the 10th, sorry. And Rams get Bills, Jets, 49ers, Cardinals, Seahawks, right? If the Rams lose to the Bills, the best they can be is 10-7. Where I'm struggling right now is with the Seahawks. If they beat the Cardinals, they're 8-5. And then this is the part that's scary, is that if they should somehow beat the Packers, Vikings, they got them at home. They have them at home, and then they got to go to Chicago to play the Bears. That Week 18 game, if they're at 11 wins before they come to SoFi, we're in serious. It's over. It'll be over unless the Rams beat the Bills and run the table, and that's a tall order. And again, I'll be happy to take all the heat if you guys want to send it to me. I'll be happy if that's what you want to do. I'll be good. Here's the thing that does get me thinking, though, is the Rams could lose to Buffalo, run the table, finish with 10 wins, and be on the outside looking in. And what's going to be bothering me is Stafford is going to be 37 in February. Now, I know we got to look for a replacement, but that replacement's not going to come in at Stafford's level unless you figure out a way to get Mahomes or Josh Allen or Justin Herbert in horns, right? So that means the team's going to take a step back, and he's going to be 37. Now, I hope he doesn't retire. I hope he doesn't get hurt because we need that guy back. AFC playoffs, Chiefs 11-1, Bills 10-2, Steelers 9-3, Texans 8-5. Texans got some problems, right? One, they got a ridiculous management group, and it's not their owner. It's their general manager and their head coach who's done a great job, but defending their linebacker is ridiculous on that hit. But the Texans get the Dolphins this week. They could lose to the Dolphins. They could be 8-6. They get the Chiefs. They could be 8-7. They could get the Ravens, and then they're going to be 8-8. And then they could beat the Titans, who they've lost to be 9-8. The Colts, believe it or not, are still alive. They're still alive in the AFC South. They're 6-7, but they can beat the Giants. They can beat the Jaguars. They can beat the Titans. The Colts' biggest game coming up is this next one against the Broncos, right? Now, some of those teams are on bye this week, but that's who their next opponent is. Just something to think about. Same thing with the Dolphins. Dolphins are 5-7, but they get the Jets flailing. They get the Texans flailing, the 49ers flailing, the Browns flailing, and the Jets. The Dolphins could run off 5 straight wins and finish 10-7 and upset the entire apple cart here. And if the Ravens have any struggles, the Ravens are 8-5. I'm going to give the Steelers the win. So the Ravens could finish 10-6. And they can't afford any. And they lost to the Browns earlier this year. There's a world here where the Ravens, the Super Bowl champions in October and November, there's a world here where the Ravens could miss the playoffs. All right. I'm Joe Terozzi. I was a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. Appreciate them and their support, as well as everybody else. And, of course, Bench the app. And if you're tired of losing your fantasy games because you forgot to check your lineup, with Bench the app, that's a thing of the past. Bench is the only app that ensures you never leave a non-starting player in your lineup. Don't miss out on crucial points. Don't be the one who forgot to bench a player on game day. Win your league, keep your pride, and let Bench the app handle the rest. Download Bench the app today and dominate your fantasy season. Okay, I took some heat. No, I'm not going to say it was heat. Every time I talk about my books, because it's through those sponsors and my books that allow me to do this and function in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we're right here on YouTube, Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. But I always talk about my football books because those are the ones that sell the best. But yes, I've written 8 books. 7 of them are novels, 3 of them are football, 4 of them are about other things. And so I've been told and encouraged to hold up my other stuff. This was a book I put out a few years ago. I wrote it. It came out after I started writing it before the shutdown. Believe it or not, some people do. Some people don't believe me, but yeah. It's called Sin Virus. Think Walking Dead meets Christianity. Think George A. Romero, Dawn of the Dead meets Christianity in the apocalypse. And I got some good reviews. So if you want to check that out, it's a fast read. It looks a little thick, but it's a fast read. I think Mr. Burns is reading it now. But check it out. It's on Amazon along with my other stuff. And I'll be holding up my books from now on because I want to keep people happy. And I do want to sell books. Okay. All right. So we've got the 12-team playoff according to the CFP as of now. Oregon, Texas, SMU, Boise State. Arizona State at Penn State. A winner gets Boise. Indiana at Georgia. Winner gets Texas. Ohio State at Tennessee. Winner gets Oregon. Alabama at Notre Dame. Winner gets SMU. Steve Ramirez pointed out to me, rightfully so, I missed that trick on Monday, that the second round is neutral field. So if Alabama wins, they don't go to SMU. Although I'd kind of like the bye team to get a home game. But anyway, we'll figure that out. But this is what I like about 12-team format. I think 16 would be ideal. But the argument right now is because Miami was left out. And I've been rooting for Miami all year. But you can't swallow the jalapeno against Syracuse and expect to get in. Bummerski, right? And we're stuck with Alabama again. But here's what the argument's about. The argument is about the 12th and the 13th spot, not about the 4th or the 5th, and not about who's 2nd and 3rd, right? It's about the 12th and the 13th spot. And ideally, if Alabama got left out, no one's looking at them as national champs. Maybe they can go on a run. And no one was really looking at Miami as a national champ. So there's nothing happening here that's terrible. It's a nice debate, but it's not a stupid debate. What's really hard is when you're leaving out a 5th team and you got 4 slots. And so I'm not against it. I think it's a good thing here. I'm glad Alabama would have to go to South Bend. I think that's kind of cool. And that'll be fun to see. But yeah, so I think college football, as I'm loath to say, looks like they got it right this time. All right, let's see. Let's see. I got a couple of questions here. Tim Burns, Niners and Chiefs lose this week. Oh, I'm going to start calling you the Swami, man. We'll start calling you the Swami. There you go. Dano, Cup has been quiet lately. You think Whittington could steal some snaps? No. Now that I mention it here, I want to get this before I go into Dano's question. Dano was the guy that brought up about Jonah Jackson getting some time at fullback and being used. And I didn't give him proper credit at the start there. So Dano brought that up. He was the one that mentioned it to me. Thought it was a great thought, Dano. In regards to Cup being quiet lately, no, I don't think so. Unless he's hurt. He still gets by on guile. He still gets by because he's still Cooper Kupp. And everything. I don't think Whittington's going to steal any snaps. Now, Kupp's back is hurt. I just say this because maybe you guys are seeing it. Am I just seeing something that no one else has seen, or I'm just overreacting? He just looks old. He just looks old. He's still making plays, and everything, but he just looks older. That's something about the spark just doesn't look like it's there. And so, yeah, I still think he's a capable receiver. I'd love to see the Rams draft a high-end receiver, maybe in the third round, second round, maybe the first. I don't know. And employ that person. And if D-Rob's not going to be back next year, if Atwell's not going to be back next year, or Tyler Johnson's not going to be back next year, make Kupp your third receiver and bring in a guy that can stretch the field. You need a guy that can stretch the field. Xavier Smith can maybe replace Atwell. I'm just speculating here. I don't want Atwell to go anywhere, right? I don't want Kupp to go anywhere. I like this receiving room, but we know it's gonna change. And right now, I don't see Whittington taking snaps from him, Dano. Manuel Vasquez, Rams need to win the division outright. Most of the teams ahead of them in the wild card have a better conference record. Oh yeah, absolutely. So they won't have any tiebreakers. Plus they'll have a home game versus a 5th or 6th seed. Yeah, Rams aren't going to the playoffs. Rams are not going to the playoffs without being division winner. You just look at the NFC, and we've talked about this. Right now, let's just say the Seahawks win the division. Okay, Cardinals would have to tank. Tampa or Atlanta would have to just go into a major tailspin, and then you got to get the Taxkins, who are 8-5, have them go into a tailspin. Now the Taxkins that's why we were rooting for the Titans last week. Taxkins get NOLA. They get New Orleans. They get Philly, which, okay, they'll lose that one. Then they get the Falcons, and then they get the Cowboys. And so, the shot of the Rams making it as a wild card, yeah, that party is over. It's over. It's more done than Madonna trying to look sexy. Okay, Tim Burns. Stafford is running for his life, and timing with Kupp is off. I think Kupp isn't telling the Rams everything. Oh, yeah, maybe we don't know everything. Maybe we don't know everything. But yeah, I can see it, right? And there's the other thing too, regarding my problem with this Bills game is, hey, against the Patriots, okay, Stafford was okay in terms of protection. Against the Philly, against the legitimate defense, got his butt kicked. Against the Saints, even against the Saints, who didn't have a great pass rush, Stafford still got whacked a few times, right? And now you got a really good pass rush in Buffalo. And so this Rams offensive line, it's not bad in the run, but in the passing game, it struggles. So you really got to work that play action. I think the Rams have used play action 30% of the time, but when they do that, that's when Stafford's been the most successful. All right, let's look at this real quick here. Off-season wish list. I put cornerback. Maybe Emmanuel Forbes can get rid of that. Offensive line, we put that there. Bobby Brown's the decider on whether or not how high the Rams draft a defensive lineman. Then we put wide receiver. Rams got a first, 2/3, a fourth, 3 number 6s, and a 7th in next year's draft. So they got a nice slate of picks, and they have a full complement of picks in 2026, which we thought maybe they would parlay into something this year, but they held on to them, and here we go. All right, Bills are 10-2 right now. They were projected to win 10.5 games, so they're ahead of schedule. Greg Rousseau has 6 sacks. He is, I think his career high is 9. So he's on his way to a career year right now. He's playing really well. Their receiving core, Amari Cooper, Mac Hollins, Khalil Shakir, even Curtis Samuel. And then you've got those tight ends right now, right? I think Dalton Kincaid's out. Is he the one's out, or Dawson Knox? Dawson Knox is still there. And then they got a home run hitter in James Cook. And their quarterback's Josh Allen. And their offensive line, maybe it's not the Phillies' offensive line, or Philadelphia's offensive line, but Deion Dawkins, David Edwards at left guard. Deion Dawkins at left guard. Anyone remember David Edwards? Probably the quietest, most forgotten name that started at left guard for the Rams in Super Bowl 56. Anyone remember David Edwards? Connor McGovern at center had a great year. Osiris Torrance at right guard, and Spencer Brown at right tackle. They're playing really well. They're just playing really well with those weapons and Josh Allen as your quarterback. This is why I have doubts. Defensively, their front seven is playing well. Ed Oliver along the front line. Rousseau has 7 sacks, not 6. And then, of course, Von Miller. They're spotting him off the bench. And, of course, he'd love to get in on this action, of course, playing against the Rams. They've got Rasul Douglas at one corner. Christian Bedford. Christian Bedford has had 2 outstanding seasons. He was a 6th-round pick out of Villanova about 3 years ago. He's the guy that made it real easy for them to say goodbye to Trey White. And he's playing high end right now. And, of course, they got DeMar Hamlin at safety, as well as former Ram Taylor Rapp. I'll go deeper into the game a little bit, but goodness gracious, right? The Bills should have no expectation any lower than a Super Bowl appearance. Once you get there, you don't know what's going to happen. But they got to go to their 5th Super Bowl. Otherwise, it's going to be a failure. I don't care if they make it to a championship game and the flukiest of the flukiest things happen. But right now, KC's on fumes. I don't know what they're going to get back. They always find a way. No one trusts Baltimore, right? Do you trust the Chargers, right? Do you trust the Steelers? The Steelers might be in a shootout. Steelers gave up points to the Bengals this last week. They're going to give up points if they have to play the Bills. So, So this is lining up for the Bills right now. And just, again, something to think about there. Last week, I was 14-2. I didn't even realize it until I added it up. I'm 123-72 on the season after a really bad start. So there we go. Okay. Steve Ramirez, I think 8 teams would be better with 4 power, 4 champs, 1 group of 5 champ Notre Dame if ranked in the top 8, and 2 at large. I have a problem with a 4th place team getting a shot at making a run. My thing is, if we got to do it like that, I think you got to get Notre Dame into a conference. I think they got to deal with. Yeah, I think they got to be in a conference. I like 16. I don't think any of these teams are going to go on that kind of a run. It'd be cool to see. 12 is a good number, but I'd like to see 16. But I'm good with 12. It's far superior to anything we've had before, and it's so interesting now that a team can have a loss and still be thinking about the future. And that was just the sucky part. You lose a game in November and you've lost your national title hopes. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous. The NCAA loved it that way, and now they don't have as much control. Okay, Packers-Lions tomorrow night in the Dave Purifay Bowl. I'm going with the Packers. Sunday, Jets at Dolphins in the Brandon Marshall Bowl. I'm taking the Dolphins. Falcons at Vikings in the Bob Berry Bowl. I'm going with the Vikings. Saints at Giants in the Tony Galbraith Bowl. I'm going with the Saints. Panthers at the Eagles in the Rodney Peete Bowl. I'm going with the Eagles. Browns and Steelers in the Lynn Dawson Bowl. I'm going with the Steelers. Raiders at Buccaneers in the Warren Sapp Bowl. Going with the Bucks. Jaguars at Titans in the Blaine Gabbert Bowl. I'm leading Tennessee in this one. That party's just about over in Jacksonville. They should fire Doug Peterson now, get a head start. Seahawks at Cardinals in the EJ Junior Bowl. I'm rooting for the Cardinals. We want the Cardinals to win, but I'm picking the Seahawks. Bills at Rams in the James Harris Bowl. I'm leaning Bills. Bears at 49ers in the Dave Williams Bowl. That Dave Williams. And we're going to take the Chiefs in that one. But the only reason I'm taking the Chiefs is because you can't trust the Chargers, right? Which means since I'm taking the Chiefs, they'll probably lose to the Chargers. The Chiefs are ripe to get slammed. They are. They're ripe. Somebody's going to put a hurt on them. I don't know the Buffalo game because Buffalo is so good, but they're going to lose to a lesser opponent. And then they'll get their act together and they'll make their run because they've got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Monday night game, Bengals at Cowboys in the Terrence Newman Bowl. Remember Terrence Newman, cornerback? Cowboys spent a 5th-round pick on that guy. He had a long career. I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm going to make former Mid-Valley staffer Andy Villanueva happy and take the Bengals over the Cowboys because of Joe Burrow. There we go. Texans, Colts, Patriots, Taxkins, and Ravens and Broncos are all on bye. I'm excited about what I'm hearing about the Taxkins. I'm excited quite a bit here about what's going on there. Looking forward to that name Redskin reappearing, or at least Chief Whitecalf. Let's see. Hola, Pastor Joe. This is Mike Negretti. What did I miss? Can you give me a brief summary? Okay. I slammed the golden at bat rule. I said we should have a golden drive rule, or as Steve Ramirez said, there should be a golden down rule. We slammed that. I mocked Colin Cowherd for saying that the only running backs in NFL history better than Christian McCaffrey are Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. So I mocked him for that. We talked about the Rams tight end situation. We talked about, my lack of hope that the Rams are going to beat the Bills. Right now I see it at 31-14 or 31-13, 34-13. And everyone's going to try to convince me by Friday. We talked about that. We talked about, Steve and I have debated a little bit about what the size of the college football playoff should be. And we just basically talked about my fear of the Seahawks going on a run and having 11 wins before they come to SoFi in week 18. I think that should bring you up to speed there. Okay, where are we at here? Good.
It was a stone.
Okay.
My man.
On this date, December 4th, 1991, Rams wave punter Dale Hatcher. Dale Hatcher had a great rookie year with the Rams. He was a 3rd-round pick out of Clemson there in the 80s. I think he was 85, and he was great. And then he kind of faded. This was his 2nd stint with the Rams. The Rams cut him on this day in 1991, and they signed former 49er kicker Barry Helton, who hung around the NFL for a long time. All right, on this day, December 4th, former Rams tight end and USC tight end Dominique Byrd, 3rd round, 93rd overall out of USC in 2006, was charged with assault and armed criminal action for an alleged role in a nightclub brawl. A year later, he was arrested for drunk driving, and a month after that, he was released. And I bring up Dominique Byrd because that was a home run for me. Just like Mr. Burns called Jameis Winston's game on Monday night, in my column, I wrote on the second day, the Rams should take Dominique Byrd out of USC because the Rams at the time needed a tight end. And sure enough, they drafted him. And I was on cloud 9 because I thought Dominique Byrd was going to be pretty good. And, of course, it never happened. Okay, let's see. This will be my last show before my anniversary. And my anniversary was last year at this time, if you remember, I was on the air. And everyone in my family knows in the RamCave, no one comes in when I'm broadcasting. And I got a pounding at the door, and I'm in the middle of talking to you guys. And my daughters came in and said my wife was walking our dog and got hit by a car. And I said, guys, I got to go. And I thought I clicked off. The show, but I missed it. And I got up, and you guys heard me talking to my daughters saying, Mom got hit by a car. And for an hour, I had a blank screen, an empty chair. I was broadcasting an empty chair. And some of you reached out to me. I got different messages on social media, but my wife got hit by a car. It could have been so much worse. She could have been killed. She could have broke a leg. Instead, she ended up with just a broken toe. But the funny part about that was the car stopped on her toe, and anyway, that's an anniversary that we hope we don't repeat. Tomorrow's December 5th. So we're not on the air, but born on that day in 1951 was former Rams free safety Bill Simpson. He was a 2nd-round pick, 50th overall in 1974 out of Michigan State, drafted specifically to replace Steve Priest after Steve Priest botched the end of the playoff game against the Cowboys, went for the interception instead of the hit on Drew Pearson, but I don't want to bring up bad memories. Simpson played for the Rams for 5 years, 74 through 78, had a great run with the Rams, made some Pro Bowls, and then he had a knee injury, looked like his career was over, didn't play in 79, and then he got a call. Chuck Knox had that second act in Buffalo, and Rams made a deal for the rights to Bill Simpson, and sure enough, Bill Simpson played 3 more years in Buffalo, 1980 through 1982, 72 games for the Rams. He started 62. He had 22 picks, and he had a big pick 6 against the Cardinals in 75 for a touchdown. Steve Ramirez remembers that one. And in 3 seasons in Buffalo, after he was supposed to be washed up, he started 36 games and picked off 12 passes. So he had a great career, kind of forgotten. Rams got a 6th-round pick for Simpson, and then they put it with a 3rd and flipped it in a trade for Gary Jeter in 1983. So we actually turned partially Bill Simpson into Gary Jeter, who had a nice run with the Rams in 1983. Born on this day in 1992, he's 34 years old, Nelson Spruce, Colorado University. His moment for all time is Rams' first game back in Los Angeles. He caught 6 passes for 51 yards and a touchdown, and he teamed with Sean Mannion to bring the Rams back from a 28-24 deficit, to a 28-24 victory over the Cowboys at the Coliseum. That was a surreal game to watch. And then in 1958, born on this day or tomorrow, was George Farmer, wide receiver. He was a 9th-round pick in 1980 out of Southern. He had injuries. He didn't see the field till 82. He had 17 catches that year. And then in 16 games and started in 1983, he had 40 catches and 5 touchdowns. He lost his job by 84, but George Farmer had a nice little run there with the Rams. And then finally, tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary of the Rams Get Right game. If you remember, Rams had a bye in November, and then they lost 3 straight games, right? They lost 3 straight games. They lost to Frisco. They lost to they lost to Green Bay. Did they lose to the Cardinals? No, they beat the Cardinals to snap the other one. But they lost 3 straight games. Everyone was crying. It was the end of the world. And then the Rams got right. They beat the Jaguars. There you go, right? And so life turned around, and the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl. Okay. Hey, we got 50 minutes in. Let's see here. Michael Negretti, thank you, Pastor Joe. Eric Dickerson is better than CMC. Let's see if CMC could rush for 2,000 yards. He can't even stay healthy. Yeah, not even close. Not even close. Dano, who should I start? Tua Tagovailoa or Russell Wilson? Let me see. Who are those guys playing again? Let me see who they're playing, Dano. I'm not a fantasy guy, but you got the Browns, and there's that defense. They got some guys in that secondary that made some plays. I might go Tua at home against the Jets. Jets are baked. They are done. I'd go with Tua, and they got a lot to play for. Everything is in front of the Dolphins, so yeah, that's who I'd go with, Dano. Let's see, Steve Ramirez, on this day, December 4th, 1956. Oh, 76. You know what, Steve? I got it right there in the scores because I was at that game. On this day, December 4th, 1976, the Rams beat the Falcons 59-0. It was Merlin Olsen's last home game. I remember because as we were kind of filing, was right towards the end of the game, you could still hear Enberg making the call because everyone had their transistors. We took the bus from El Monte to get there. And you hear Enberg scream and goes, and the sacked by Olsen, and everyone cheered and screamed, but it turned out it was Mike Fanning. It wasn't Olsen that got the sack. There you go. Good call there, Steve. Mike Negretti, how can Ground Chuck not be in the Hall of Fame? Robbery. Well, there are guys in front of him, right? You got Ground Chuck. You got Marty Schottenheimer, right? Look how long it took them to recognize Tom Flores, right? It wasn't until somebody realized he was Hispanic. They go, we got to get a Hispanic in there. That guy should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. The other one is the Giants head coach, Tom Laughlin. That guy, Coughlin, should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Chuck Knox, he gets in. Maybe they have like a special ceremony for him and Schottenheimer and then Sean McDermott if he doesn't win this year. Yeah. Mike Negretti, you do a great job, Pastor Joe. Thank you. God bless you. Oh, thank you very much, Mike. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that quite a bit. Okay. Do I have anything else here? I think we're good. I think we are good. Steve nailed me for not mentioning that thing. I got it right here. The 59-0 game was played on a Saturday, right? 1977, Rams beat the Raiders on this date, 20-14. That was the game. You always see Stabler throwing to Dave Casper, who got behind Jack Reynolds in that game. That's one of the highlights you always see of that game. But the Rams beat that game. I remember hating James Garner in that game, Rockford Files guy, because he was on the sideline rooting for the Raiders. One of the few home games the Rams had televised in the Coliseum. Really happy they won that game. But we had the sound turned down and we listened to Dick Enberg. And Enberg was frustrated with the officiating. It was really great to hear Enberg get all uptight about it. That was Enberg's last season with the Rams. What else we got here? I don't have anything else. I think I got it all. Okay. All right. Okay, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me. We are going to let you guys go. Be sure to check out From the RamCave on Spotify. Feeling really lonely over there. Be sure to check out my books. And thank you so much. We will see you on Friday talking Ram football. God bless. Take care.